Jimmy, and where are you from?
I worked in Ladder 43 in the Fire Department of New York. I was stationed in East Harlem, and I worked for about 28 years for the Fire Department.
Okay. So what was it like that day? You were there at 9/11.
Well, it was tough. I had actually been home, and I was outside, and one of my neighbors said that a plane hit the Trade Center. So I had been in the military. I actually used to fly in the back of an AWAC plane. It was a beautiful, clear, sunny day without a cloud in the sky. So I knew that would be like visual flight rules, and even if the person's instrument is on, there's no way a plane would hit that unless they had mechanical trouble, and the news kept showing it over and over again, and it looked like it was an intentional hit. So with that,
now, there was a small plane that hit like one of those buildings weeks before, right? That hit an air current between the. So that's what everybody was thinking, was that it was one of those air currents in New York.
I don't really believe that. I believe the FAA and all of them.
They knew that.
They know the difference.
Okay.
And just unfortunately, we have a lot of air traffic between Newark Airport, LaGuardia, Kennedy, and most of it doesn't go over the city. But when somebody makes a last-minute deliberate change like that, it's hard to stop.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're far away, they scramble the jets and everything, but in a city like ours, it's too congested, so to speak.
Sure. And what happened then? You got a call.
I went to the firehouse, and I met up with some other fellas, 13 of us. We got another fire truck. My own company had already left to go to the Trade Center. We got down there, and they kept us back until the second building came down. And it was like a nuclear winter with the smoke, the debris, asbestos, who knows what was in the air. Unfortunately, some of it was the smell of human remains too, because when the building pancake collapsed like that, a lot of things were pulverized. And we managed to go in, and we found, by going down to the stairways to the pad tube, getting to the B tower, the A tower, the B staircase, there was a Captain J. Jonas from 6th Truck that took a woman, Josephine, down, and a Port Authority lieutenant. And there's also guys from 39 Engine. Jimmy McGlynn was the officer then, that were trapped a little below them. They eventually would have got out on their own, but with all the debris, and they actually came down floors. They were thrown down floors when it came down. So we helped them up, get out, get on their feet, and they left the building. And then we found Chief Aponte. Unfortunately, he was passed away. Then the rest of that, after that, was like a recovery effort, because everything you found was somebody was dead or a body part or something.
Yeah.
The unfortunate part of that, I mean, it was a little gruesome, but it also gave closure, because every night when you worked there a day, there was hundreds, if not 1,000 people outside with pictures of their father, their son, their mother, their daughter, who worked in the Trade Center. And after 2 or 3 days, they called all the hospitals. When that person didn't come home, they felt they were in the pile, the rubble, which, you know, is unfortunate to use that terminology when we're talking about human life. So when you found the body part or a body, we would put on a stretcher covered with an American flag, march it out with honor to a temporary morgue the city had set up, and they were getting hairbrushes, toothbrushes, DNA samples from the families, and trying to set up a DNA database. And the rewarding part of that, it might sound crazy to somebody else, was that we knew we were giving closure to a family or a parent or a daughter.
Oh, that's awesome. Now, they said that there was a lot of people that never were recovered.
Yes.
And they're saying that they probably were incinerated, completely incinerated, because of that extreme heat coming down those shafts. Was that pretty accurate?
When I got out of the military, I went to college for the year, and I became a steam fitter. Steam fitter is a pipe fitter, welder. And I did a 5-year apprenticeship. And 2.5 years of my apprenticeship, I worked on both towers. And to me, they built those buildings very strong. They had core construction. The main part, the elevator, was the interior part. It had huge, heavy vertical beams. The exterior, which you'll see in pictures, strong vertical beams on the outside. And it's a square acre, 204 by 208. I used to call it a square block till I came to Minnesota. Now I know an acre is 204 by 204. But the horizontal beams were built with truss construction. They're strong, and they can hold like 14, 18 inch of concrete, whatever machines they had to. But if you ever watch a movie or even the films in the trailer here, when they put the horizontal beam in place to connect to the vertical beams, they bolted. Now, having been in the service and have worked on the Trade Center, those bolts, I believe, when the plane hit the 74th floor in that area, you have machine rooms and everything, which are for ventilation and pumps for the water. When that jet fuel, JP5 or whatever type jet fuel it was, went down on those beams. The heat from those beams, from that jet fuel, expanded the horizontal beams. And I believe after a while, when you heat steel to 1400 degrees, it expands. You expand it a few inches and you shear those bolts. Then I think you get what we call in the fire department a pancake collapse. One floor falls on the other floor. So I believe the people above where the planes hit, they were incinerated, burnt if they couldn't get past there. The people below it, they were probably pulverized with the furniture, the telephones, by the impact of floor on the floor and the floor and the floor.
Sure, sure.
That's why I think they want to recover some of them.
Jimmy, how do you handle life after 9/11? I know you were up close and personal, one of the teams going in and finding the bodies, and I know for every success story there was also heartbreak in there. And how do you sleep at night?
Well, I believe, you know, I had about a little over 20 years of firefighter, and you go to a car accident, somebody lives, somebody dies, you do a triage, who you work on that person. Fire, sometimes you recover a little baby that's dead. So it's not nice all the time, but you do the best you can, and you have a work way to do it. You go here, you check this person, that person. And it was the same there. And there were times when you're busy searching, again, you get that reward by giving somebody closure, but then there's also the time when you get a break, and you're looking how bad it is. And then I'm saying to myself, after the bombing in 1993, this bombing, the 13, 15 acres, who's going to build there again? Who's going to put the money up for a building? Who's going to want to work there? Who's going to want to be in that area? And the last thing I wanted to see was a 15-block cemetery or desolate place. To me, then the bad guys would win.
Yeah.
So now, when they built, I mean, all 7 buildings are built again. The Freedom Tower, 1776, that's when we got our independence from England. I go by there every now and then to do something. I'll eat a hot dog, have a soda, and I just watch the people coming out of the subway, running into the buildings to go to work, coming out to go to a restaurant. So the bad guys really hurt us, and I feel sorry for the families of those that lost loved ones, especially firefighter friends of mine. But the bad guys didn't win. They didn't change our way of life. So that's kind of a little bit of reward to me.
That's right. What's the greatest success story that you saw in 9/11? What was one of the greatest experiences? You maybe found somebody or found something that you said, you know, we're going to get through this. I mean, there's had to be a part of that day where you just looked around and thought, how are we going to get through this?
Well, again, like I said in the beginning, my company is fortunate, and these guys would have got out on their own eventually, because they were really dislodged. They came down 3, 4, 5 floors, you know, when the building collapsed, and they were in a famous B stairwell. And they had rescued the woman Josephine and a Port Authority cop, but it was still great to run into somebody alive.
Oh yeah.
So that was rewarding. And then I'll be honest with you, for the first 24 hours, I thought maybe there'd be more people coming out. So at the end of 24 hours, then I was starting to come to the conclusion that there were many more people that died than I thought. The other side, it sounds a little crazy, but the times that the plane hit early in the morning on a Tuesday, it was good for the civilian population in a way. Not that you want to see 3,000 people die, but Monday Night Football lets people come to work the next day. It was primary day. Some people stay home to vote. They come in later. It was the first day of school. Some people bring their kids to kindergarten or first grade. The hour in the morning, there's probably less tourists and windows on the World Restaurant, the observation tower.
Yeah, and you hear a lot of the miracle stories of people that were supposed to be there.
That's what I mean.
And didn't show up for work.
That's what I'm saying.
So
the bad part about that, unfortunately, I mean, I'm glad that happened for them.
right.
But the fire department, we changed tours at 9 o'clock and 6 o'clock. So you might have had a truck company or an engine company that would have had 5 or 6 people on it. Now you had the guys from the night before. The guys came on that day. Maybe one. I think there were companies that lost 12 guys. I had a guy who I worked with as a fireman, Freddie Hill, captain of 2 or 4 truck. They lost like 12 guys. Where if it happened at 2 in the afternoon, you would have lost more civilians, but less firemen. But at the end of the day, it's a job, and we do it the best we can.
How many hours was that without sleep when that happened for you?
Probably about 36. We went down there, and then even over the next few days, you might work 18, 20 hours, and some of us would walk over to St. Paul's Church, sleep in a pew for 4 hours, and then come back and work some more. Then eventually, the fire department is a very resilient organization. they set up schedules they took us offline, so I think I worked a 2-week detail. We worked, and they were good. You worked 12 to 14 hours a day, and then mandatory you had to leave. The guys who worked in the firehouse at the same time, they would do a 9-hour tour and then come down and do what they could do. The days you were off, everybody came down. There was retired guys that came from all over. I was hugely impressed. There was a Lieutenant, Dennis Oberg, who lost his son. Dennis was a Lieutenant 114 truck. His son was in 105. There were a group of retired guys. Some came from Phoenix, some came from Florida. And they were with him every day searching for his son. You know, they wanted to be there to give him moral support. So to see situations like that, the camaraderie, the bond, you know, making the best out of a bad situation.
Sure.
And getting the job done. I mean, and even if the job was recovering body parts and giving closure, that was the job.
You know, a lot of people said it's a good thing it happened in New York because New Yorkers have that backbone that doesn't quit. And I'm wondering if that would have happened in like a California or something, what would have happened? I'm sure we would all pull together, but you know what? Everybody in this country is proud of New York, and you New Yorkers that really pulled your weight at that point.
I thank them for that compliment for the residents. Myself, I'm a New Yorker. I lived in New York all my life, except when I was in the military. But then again, in the military, I went to boot camp in Chicago. I was stationed for school in Memphis, Tennessee, and Millington outside of Memphis. I was stationed for 3 months in Corpus Christi, Texas. Then I was on North Island before I went to Vietnam in San Diego. So I've been around the country, and I think everybody in this United States bonded together then, and they would have did the same thing in their own area. Americans are tough people no matter where you come from. Whether you come from a rural area or big city.
Yeah, that's right. How was your health? Did you have any health problems after?
I have some health issues, but when I look at other guys, I'm still doing good. And we volunteer to go with the exhibit, and some of us go down to Walter Reed Hospital with the veterans who are double, triple, quadruple amputees. But we also have a fire family transport where a bunch of us that are retired will take other firefighters that are getting radiation treatments.
Sure.
I mean, a lot of firefighters. One of my friends, Ray Pfeiffer's got stage 4 brain cancer. Numerous firefighters with lung problems, but skin and other types of cancer, prostate, whatever it is. It's like 3 and 4 times the normal population. And I'm glad they extended this droga bill. You know, that helped, but you know, I think we still got a long way to go. Unfortunately, some of us are getting up in years, so I don't know how far we got to go. But there were a lot of young guys there that day too. And not only firefighters, civilians. There, anybody who lived in that area has health problems and things like that too.
And we need guys like you that'll stick around and remind the young guys what happened. I don't think we can ever forget that, and I don't believe that we can ever let our country forget that. Especially in the wake of what's going on in the country right now.
Well, that's the benefit of the Stephen Silla Tunnel Towers exhibit going around the country. Some of us are surprised. Many areas they teach it. I know sometimes it's hard for a teacher. What level do you start teaching it, you know? But I think no matter what grade a kid is in, you can bring it up and mention it.
Right.
When it gets to the real gory and tough parts, you can wait till the kid is older, the 6th, 7th, 8th grade, to high school. You know, you don't have to tell some kid in kindergarten. But there are areas that don't really touch on it. You know?
Yeah.
And I think that's wrong. So the exhibit helps bring it back. And the people in Minnesota, these other rural areas, I've been to Indiana, it's amazing how they turn out for the exhibit. They care, they bring their children, and that makes everything we do worthwhile. Because then we know that it's not going to be forgotten.